Stinky Kongversation. Ape Kongversation. Summer. Stinky Ape Summer. Hello and welcome to the Kongversation. I'm Hyle Russell.
And I'm Gibbon. Hello.
Welcome to our least listened to episode of the summer, everyone. We're here. Yeah. This is our Xbox Showcase episode. And as is tradition, I'm laying down or trying to get started, we are live right now. Twitch.tv/DKVine, as I like to do.
Oh, God.
For all of the Stinky Ape Summer episodes, the ones about the Stinky Ape Summer game announcement season, formerly known as E3. So, hello to the two people who March Rose and Porygon Q are here. Look, I know. I get it. I understand that the Xbox Showcase, particularly a year where there's not a lot to talk about on the rare side of things, is not the sexiest draw for our audience. I do understand that.
Even by my stand, you know me, I get excited about stuff that nobody else fucking cares about. And even I was like looking at my non-existent watch going like, is this over yet? Can I go back to other things?
I don't want to make any cracks about Clockwork yet, but that's when I really started checking my non-existent watch.
That trailer just went on forever. Oh my God.
Yeah, it really did.
That game bothers me.
Okay. I'll say this about it. I like Art Nouveau.
Yeah, me too. I love that aesthetic. I'm a big fan of Dishonored. I have tattoos of Dishonored. It looks very much like we have Dishonored at home, and finding out it was from In Exile, which is a studio I really like, who are the former Fallout people who now make the Wasteland games, finding out that they're the ones on that was just like, oh, guys, what happened?
I recognized Fallout in your sentences there.
The people who made the first handful of Fallout games before the IP went to Bethesda, they got acquired by Microsoft, and they make the Wasteland games now, which the original Fallout was a sequel to Wasteland 1. So they just continued the parent series.
I recognized the words Fallout and Microsoft in your sentences.
Okay, don't worry about it. Let's keep going. You're talking
to the wrong person here. All right. So, yeah, we are going to discuss what little there is to discuss, but we're also going to discuss the absence of some things, which I feel is apropos. I have some things to get off my chest that have been building up over the last 24 hours or so. And you're going to hear some ranting. It's going to be very measured, controlled ranting. Don't worry. But I don't know. I get a little peevish sometimes, and it depends on my mood. And I think when I'm already burned out, when I'm running on empty, because it's been a very busy week, Chem. It's been a very, very busy 7 days for DK Vine and for just the larger chunk of our community, because the Switch 2 came out. And so
sure did.
It's obviously where my main area of interest has been, but there's been other things happening too. And so it's been for a Stinky Ape Summer, formerly E3, that doesn't involve any travel on my end. It has been probably the busiest since 2019. So,
oh man,
a lot to keep up with, but I do want to give everyone a quick update on the bear hike, because as I said on the Stinky Ape Summer kickoff episode that I did with Matt Corna, I was going to go on my bear hike Friday morning. Now, as I already said, this weird tradition of mine where if I see a bear, it's going to mean good things for the DKU at E3 or now Stinky Ape Summer doesn't really apply this year because we're already getting a new 3D Donkey Kong game in July. So it's like the biggest thing we could potentially ever hope for outside of maybe Donkey Kong Racing getting revived is here. It's coming. So what's the point of seeing a bear that would otherwise, bring good omens and good tidings for the season ahead. So it wasn't really applicable this year, but I still went. I still got up very, very early, 4 a.m. and, showered, shaved, went up into the mountains. Now, unfortunately, I did not see any bears. I had a really nice encounter with a baby fawn. Probably the youngest I have ever encountered. Just like maybe I'm not really sure because I'm not a deerologist, Gibbon, but I do know like I've never seen one this young, so it's definitely under 2 months, probably.
It's definitely the season for it. I almost stepped on a baby crow the other day.
Oh no!
No, it was sitting there right behind my office building in the shade of a tree because there's a nice little bamboo grove behind the tower I work in, and it was just sitting there, and I was like, "Oh crap! Sorry about that." And the mother was not pleased at me.
Yeah, I was gonna say you don't want to upset crows because crows have such not only perfect memory and recall.
I left a bag of almonds that I'd been keeping as a snack. I opened them up and just poured them out and backed off.
Because crows will actually alert other crows, and you can become persona non grata to any murder of crows in the area.
Don't want that happening.
No. But I saw a baby fawn. I was just hiking along. I did find bear scat, and the only problem was it had clearly been there for a while, so there was no ability to track. So while I was walking along, I startled this very, very young fawn, and it freaked out. It started running, and then its mother came running after it along with its other babies. So I felt bad about it, but it was just like, oh my God, like that just so young and dewy, this little deer. And so anyway, didn't see a bear, but it worked out. The bear hike did provide for me because Matt and I were tracking my Switch 2 and Mario Kart World orders, which were coming separately. We're tracking them on Thursday, so I had to get a Switch 2 Sans bundle. That was all that I could get that frantic night of the pre-order, and got that from Best Buy. And then I decided to pre-order Mario Kart World like the week before it launched, and I also did that via Best Buy. So they shipped my Switch 2 and Mario Kart World separately. The Switch 2 via UPS, Mario Kart World via FedEx. So I got my Switch 2 Thursday. It did arrive like later that evening. But then I got an update from FedEx that Mario Kart World had been delayed. And then Friday morning, I got a text saying that FedEx had lost the package, and it was going to be anywhere from 3 to 4 weeks until they delivered it.
Oh God.
So I was just like, well, I'm not doing that. And I thought, like, if nothing else, I can just download Mario Kart World, and then I'll still get the physical version when it arrives. Yeah. But I drove off the mountain, which put me right into my hometown where I grew up, and lower population density. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to check the stores in the area to see if they're sold out yet. And thankfully, I rolled right in, got my Mario Kart World, asked them, because I didn't see any, like, actually out. I was like, yeah, they're probably out, but I'll just ask. And they're like, oh, no, we still have them. And they pulled it out for me. Got it.
Heck yeah.
Left. And I wouldn't have done that, wouldn't have been able to get that, because they were sold out locally where I'm living now. So I wouldn't have been able to get one had I not gone on that bear hike.
Good stuff.
So anyway, and then Saturday, the package shows up. Mario Kart World shows up. FedEx found it, and it wasn't 3 to 4 weeks. It was just an extra day. So I'm just going to return it this week.
Hey, we could use it as a giveaway or something.
It's $80. I could use that money for a Steam Deck.
Fair enough.
So anyway,
on eBay.
Well, yeah, but I'm just like, somebody else might want it too. And if I just return it to a store, there'll be another copy. So anyway, hello to Gigastrike. Hello to Me Muppet, who have joined us. Gigastrike says, Mr. Hyle Moneybag splurging to get stuff early. Believe me, I've never been accused of being a moneybags, and I never will.
That's me.
Yeah, Jem is the financially wealthy one out of all of us.
I'm a 10%er.
You are. Meanwhile, I'm just a grubby Donkey Kong journalist struggling to make ends meet, which means I had to watch today's Xbox showcase. It was long, and thankfully I didn't have to stay around for the Outer Worlds 2.
Yeah, I'd heard it was going to be 2 hours, but I didn't realize the second hour was just going to be like Outer Wilds 2 showcase, because it was like, oh good, I can turn this off now.
Yeah, this actually went over an hour. It's about 70 minutes for what could have entailed the relevant portion for DK Vine, and the relevant portion has to do with Rare's IPs and the DKU. So, what did we see today? Well,
fucking nothing.
As we predicted quite accurately on the Stinky Ape Summer Kickoff episode. Man, I got this down exactly. It wasn't that hard to predict, but still,
yeah.
I'm
a little depressed that you were so accurate.
I am plugged in. We got a Sea of Thieves Season 17 trailer.
We sure did.
Season 17, which is coming this August, subtitled Smuggler's Tide.
Good title.
It's a good title. What this means, what we can ascertain from this very vague trailer, is that a new faction called the Smugglers League is being added to the game. And I think smuggling, and I'm thinking, okay, you're going to be smuggling goods that aren't in the game, and they probably wouldn't be allowed to smuggle drugs. Even though that would be like they could come up with fictional.
They're saving drugs for the East Indian Trading Company up there.
Well, that's the Grand Maritime Union in Sea of Thieves. But they, could have come up with fictional drugs, like in Star Wars, they smuggle spice. So,
and we do already have crates of spice, though.
Yeah, well, come up with something else, but yeah. No, in this case, it seems like you have to steal and salvage weapons for the Smugglers League and do it very sneakily.
Yeah, I got very confused when they were like, and introducing gunpowder barrels.
Yes, this includes new explosive barrels that are somehow different from the explosive gunpowder barrels and kegs that are already in the game.
Well, they're black and have a brand new logo on them.
They might blow up even more. I don't really know. Look, it was a nice trailer. It was a nice trailer. I always like the Sea of Thieves cinematic trailers. They bring in Nine Cat Nura, who was introduced in the Tales from the Sea of Thieves book. She's not actually in the game, but she's always used for these trailers. And I like her little crew that they always get into comedic mishaps. But I don't know. I think this would have been fine any other time of the year. But for a June Xbox showcase, there's not much sizzle here.
And even any other time of the year, this was a really vague trailer. They were like, welcome to the Smugglers League. You're going to have to smuggle and go on new voyages where you'll do exciting things like collect gunpowder barrels.
Yeah.
What?
When they showed, you have to dive into shipwrecks to get... And I was like, yeah, but we have to do that for other things, too. It's just... I'm not trying to be negative. I'm not trying to be negative
and
about
when they
this.
say new faction, is that like a new? Is that like the PvP factions? Is that a trading company? Is that like the Bilge Rats, which like are a faction within the game, but you don't like get rep with? Like what does this mean?
Yeah. The problem is the Xbox Showcase, you expect something along the lines of the Pirate's Life reveal or the Legend of Monkey Island or, even the captaincy update from a few years ago. That was really exciting for me because I was like, yes, finally we can have our ships. We can name our ships and actually customize them and keep them. And like that was something I'd like long wanted. So that was a good Xbox Showcase announcement. And it's clear, Rare had to promote something. They wanted to get Sea of Thieves in there, and this was just what was next on the docket. But
if not another big set of Tall Tales, I would have liked like a new region or something like aliens or something.
Sure, but I mean, maybe not extraterrestrials, but like
something.
Yeah,
something
I know.
Yeah.
I know. It's all just a matter of timing and presentation, and I'm glad Rare was present. Like I said, there have been worse Xbox showcases that we have had to sit through for DK Vine where Rare was not even featured at all. There was just nothing, and I'm glad they are included, even if they didn't really have a lot to show off. And you can gussy it up with a nice trailer, and, it's fun, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really mean much. As I said on our kickoff episode, I love Sea of Thieves, and I will continue to love Sea of Thieves, but Sea of Thieves is the thing that kind of sustains you when you have nothing else going on at the same time. So, this is the kind of announcement where it could have come on any random Wednesday, and you would have been like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
And it's just, again, glad Rare was there. I'm glad that I didn't sit through this for nothing. But at the same time, yeah.
Yeah, and that seems to be the general sentiment going around. Like, Dre in some of our inner community circles said similar, that the trailer was neat, new faction is neat, but we just need more details.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah.
So Traveler of the Stars has joined us. Hello, Traveler. Traveler of the Stars. Well, I'll get into what Traveler of the Stars is saying because this is going to be relevant in just a little bit when we get to what I want to discuss. But there was something really, really intriguing and exciting, I think, that kind of rose above everything else involved with the actual Sea of Thieves trailer, and that was our first glimpse of Rare's 40th anniversary logo.
Oh, it's fucking beautiful.
This, I stopped, and I actually stopped watching the trailer. I mean, still had it playing, but I immediately just, copied the frame. By the way, several episodes back, I talked about taking screenshots off YouTube, and I said how I do print screen with my button on my keyboard. And somebody in the YouTube comment said, actually, Hyle, did you know if you right-click twice, there's an option to just copy the video frame? And I had no idea. And
I didn't know either.
It's a game changer. It is such an easy thing to do now. Thank you. I am embarrassed to reveal my ignorance on the podcast, but
I'm going to have to try that out.
Yeah, you have to do it twice, and then the option will come up. But
what if the frame's already passed?
No, you can pause it. You can pause it. This is how you can pause it without having the little scroller in your image. Yeah. Anyway, it's embarrassing to reveal my ignorance on the podcast, but when you can humble yourself just enough to do it, you can be bestowed with even greater knowledge.
I work in tech and I didn't fucking know that, so...
The more I know, the less I know. Just keep expanding your knowledge, keep pursuing the betterment of your brain, people. Anyway, so yeah, I immediately posted this to Blue Sky, and I was just like, check this out. And yeah, it's worth pointing out, like, why is this a big deal? It's just their little anniversary logo. Like, they've done bespoke logos before for different things. The big deal here is that this isn't just the current Rare logo done up in a 40th anniversary design. This is the actual general shape of their 1994 to 2003 Rareware logo that they used during the Nintendo years, and they haven't used outside of Fangamer merchandise since 2003's Banjo-Kazooie Grunty's Revenge. Now, this doesn't say Rareware, it still says Rare, but it is the shape, it is in the emblem. The difference here is that the logo is set in a ruby casing for its 40th anniversary. 40th anniversary is the ruby anniversary for those who don't keep up with such things.
Neat.
Yeah, I love this. I love this. And
this is so great. Love that classic toilet paper roll.
I definitely want to get this as a pin or some other merchandise.
For sure.
Like, they need to actually do something with this rather than just use it for a couple things. And that being said, it is Rare's 40th anniversary, and I know, like, Jeff brought this up. I'll read Jeff's comments, but it does feel like it's a bit of a letdown for the big June Xbox showcase that they didn't have more ready to show or reveal. And I'm sure they'll do that later in the year, but it's important to keep in mind, too, they just had a management turnover last October. Joe Neate and Jim Horth have taken the reins of Rare. Craig Duncan has been promoted to head of Xbox Game Studios. And so they might be cooking up stuff at Rare as we speak. It's just nothing they're really ready to show off. So
yeah, sometimes that's just how these things work out.
Yes. It's like when it was Donkey Kong's 40th anniversary and everybody was just pulling out their hair. Why isn't Nintendo acknowledging Donkey Kong? And, well, all the stuff they were working on for Donkey Kong wasn't ready for the 40th, so they didn't lean into it. That's all it is.
Yeah,
now, Rare is leaning into their 40th, so we will see. Maybe we will see something later in the summer or into the autumn where they can actually put this amazing logo to good use. But it's worth pointing out, too, just from an historical perspective, we are now 1 week from the 10th year anniversary of Rare Replay and Sea of Thieves being announced. That was on June 15th, 2015. So that was, ostensibly for Rare's 30th anniversary. Here we are for the 40th.
Wild stuff. But unfortunately not Everwild stuff.
Just save it. Jeff said in our little chat, because I reached out to some of the other staffers and some of the friends of the show, and it's like, hey, we're going to have to pad this episode a little bit. Let me know what your thoughts are. And Jeff said, we already have both Everwild and Perfect Dark announced. It's the studio's 40th anniversary. Things like Killer Instinct, Battletoads, and Conquer have already been handled by other studios and could return at any time. Other IP like Banjo and Viva Pinata are always a possibility. That's true. Speaking of Everwild, more like Neverwild. Hey. Yeah. I hate that I was right. I hate that I glumly predicted this on our kickoff
Every
episode.
year, I'm like, has it been canceled? Are they done with it? And then they'll put like a bloom deer in their Christmas card, and I'm like,
yes.
Oh, I guess it's still a thing that they're including in their stuff.
Yeah,
and like
the holiday card, the fact that Microsoft re-upped the Everwild trademark or trademarked it for the first time, I don't really know, in March, and then I was just like, okay, we're going to see it. And then a couple days ago, a feeling came over me, and I don't know what it is, Sixth Sense or just plugging myself into the universe, but I thought, no, it's not happening. It's not happening.
I feel like we would have heard, like, that's what the rumor would be. Somebody other than Andy fucking Robinson would have come forth and been like, hey, we're going to hear something about Everwild this year, you know?
I think
But
you would have seen a little bit more social media chatter from Rare and...
Yeah, anything. Like, for the Sony thing the other day, like, we kind of knew that maybe the rumored Final Fantasy Tactics remake that had been like rumored to be in development for like 7 fucking years now was going to happen because like some of the Final Fantasy Tactics people retweeted promotional stuff about the showcase and then deleted their tweets.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh. And I feel like we would have seen something like that. Like, we see Nintendo and Microsoft plans getting leaked all the time by like, oh man, Nintendo Germany accidentally posted something they shouldn't have, or whatever, or somebody putting up an ESRB rating or whatever. And we've got nothing. We've got nothing about Everwild in so long.
Yeah, It really is just stuck in development hell. And like, I thought maybe there's an outside chance, because on Saturday, I mean, talk about social media, Louise O'Connor followed Deco Vine on Blue Sky, and I was just like, maybe she's gearing up. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe I was wrong. I wasn't wrong though. And I feel bad about wondering why this project still persist, because I am fond of a lot of the people who have been involved with it, like Louise O'Connor, like Greg Mayles, who is brought in to, you know, I don't know, find a direction for it, on and off again. And I did like those 2 trailers we saw of Everwild, even though I have no idea what the game is supposed to be. I thought it looks nice. I like the theming. I like what it seems to be suggesting. Like, it's going to be about, not gameplay wise, but just like as far as like being in tune with nature. And
even some of the gameplay stuff, like one of the people they, like when we did get a bit of news a couple years back where they were like, oh, they're bringing so-and-so on from the Alien Isolation team, and their role on the Alien Isolation team was designing the non-combat creature encounters, because it's supposed to be like a stealth game that's not about combat. That's what Alien Isolation's about. And it's like, oh, if they're bringing them onto the Everwild team, then like maybe that's an indication of like, oh, there'll be like creature encounters, but it won't be a combat game. So maybe it'll be more of the like Saberman Stampede route where you're like, you know, suction cupping the rhinos or something.
For the record, just so you know, I do know what Alien is, because unlike video games, I do watch movies. Yeah. So, yeah, and that's a great point, and that's a lot of great like connecting the dots. But I think my biggest problem was it's not like Sea of Thieves. That 2015 trailer immediately communicated to you almost everything you needed to know. Like, not the finer details, but exactly what the game is going to be about, like what you'd be doing. You'd be sailing around with friends and encountering other rival crews or even skellies on islands. And it was enough to get the juices flowing. It was enough to get me excited. Hell yeah. A Rare game that's finally all about piracy. We've been building up to this for 20 years at that point. Let's do it. And yeah, I just don't know how to feel about Everwild. And that's fine with the first trailer, maybe, or even the second trailer. But here we are, half a decade or so since it's been revealed.
God.
And that's been longer than half a decade now.
Yeah.
My God. My log even, because yeah, that is just absurd.
It's super absurd. Good Lord.
So I I hate to be negative. I feel like Matt was a little taken aback by how negative I was being about Everwild, and that's not me speaking to any of the people working on it or the project itself or the good intentions behind it. I am just worried about it being in development for so long with nothing to show for it. Traveler of the Stars said this, posted this in our Twitch chat from Blue Sky. Regarding what you said during your recent conversation about the game, I'm also kind of thinking Rare needs to shit, language please, or get off the pot with Everwild. It's basically in the Prime 4 tier now, but the big difference is that we know Everwild was restarted due to the vision of the game needing retooling or whatever. And then it says, personally, I didn't think you were being too negative or out of line with what you said about Everwild recently. It could be good, but all Rare have been doing is Sea of Thieves with this game seemingly trapped in development hell. How do you feel about that?
I mean, I don't think Sea of Thieves is the only thing they're working on. In fact, it doesn't even feel like they've got like the main team working on Sea of Thieves anymore. Frankly.
Yeah.
It kind of feels. It feels like the bulk of the studio is probably working on other things, and that given that Microsoft announced a lot of stuff back at the beginning of this console generation that they probably shouldn't have because it was nowhere near being ready yet.
Yes.
It feels like they learned the lesson that Nintendo learned, where we stop announcing things so early.
Yeah.
And so we'll see what Rare's working on when we see what Rare's working on. Is kind of how I feel about it.
We also didn't see anything about the new Perfect Dark, which had a big trailer last year. And I thought it looked pretty good, all things considered. I mean, Perfect Dark has never been my thing. I've always liked it probably more than Blast Core, generally speaking. But I am just not an FPS person, and even with the Rare kind of stamp on it, I'm still not wildly enthused. And now we're even removed from Rare a little bit, and I liked what I saw, but I don't know how invested I would be if I picked it up. That's just my own personal taste.
I'll get it when it comes out.
I would have liked to have seen more from it, though. But still no update on it. So okay.
I would have expected something because I had an acquaintance on that team, and she was pretty happy with the state of the game and said it was 70% done and didn't understand why they weren't showing it to people. And that was before they brought in, was it Crystal Dynamics to scrap everything they had and start over and start building a new version of the game. So it's, I don't know what's going on there. So.
Well, it's either already talking about it in the live stream, or dancing around it. We got to talk about Banjo-Kazooie, Jem. We have to. I know. Don't look at me.
Do we have to?
Don't look at me. I can feel you wincing. We've got to talk about it. Now look here. So I talked about this. Actually, what was a little bit of a shitty journalist because I spent my second paragraph in today's news article talking about this rather than talking about the actual crux of what we saw today. But I think it needed addressing, and I'll just read it verbatim here. Okay? And I said, as we predicted, there was no trace of Everwild or even the Banjo-Kazooie series. That's despite somewhat prominent video game journalists trying to chum the waters with the latter over the weekend, knowing the snacker-esque feeding frenzy it would inevitably foster. Now, that's not me dismissing any behind-the-scenes movement on the Banjo-Kazooie front, especially with last year's management shuffle at Rare and Xbox Game Studios. But it has become somewhat of a tired tradition to make a vague post about Banjo-Kazooie a day or two before the Xbox showcase, score up lots of reposts and articles written over your comments, and then slink away to leave the fandom raging against modern-day Rare when nothing is shown during the presentation. let's stop falling for it.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I get it. I want to see more stuff from classic Rareware IP as well, but it doesn't do anybody any good to, like, get into a frenzy over it.
Do not mistake my position. I desperately want a new Banjo-Kazooie game. I want to see Conquer again. I would even be down for, like, Viva Pinata. It like a few years removed from the Nintendo era of Rare. Like, I would be happy with that. But I also don't like the way that so many people who should know better like to needle the Banjo-Kazooie fandom and get them going because it's easy engagement, because you like to watch fires start. I don't know what it is, but this has not been the first Xbox Showcase weekend where even the same journalist did this. And I'm just like, why are we continually falling for this bait? And I'm not trying to, like, call anybody out here. I'm just, like, I hate seeing the way that the Rare fandom, particularly the older Rare fandom or the Rare fandom who are more just in league with the Nintendo era stuff, I hate to see that constant churn of negativity. And I completely get it if Sea of Thieves is not your thing. Like, respect. It's my second favorite game of all time after DKC 2. I vibe with it. There's lots of ways to engage with it other than how you may think, but I get it if it's still not your thing. But it is Rare's most successful game ever. So you also shouldn't be upset that it's continuing to exist. And like Jem said, it's not all they're working on, and that doesn't even include Everwild.
Yeah.
There's other stuff happening at Rare that we are not privy to. And it reminds me a lot about the hand-wringing that the Donkey Kong side of the fandom was going through the last 5+ years. And every Nintendo Direct where Donkey Kong didn't show up, Nintendo has just abandoned Donkey Kong. Nintendo hates Donkey Kong. We didn't see it at this Nintendo Direct, so the EPD-developed Donkey Kong game must not exist.
Those really annoyed me. Well, they didn't announce it this time, so obviously you lot are full of shit.
Well, it really bugged me, and I hate to keep bringing this up, but I'm going to bring it up again because, you know, I'm still in my victory lap phase of all of this. It reminds me of when the other so-called leakers... I don't consider myself a leaker. I was just reporting on stuff that I had, you know, a verified chain of evidence for. But these internet leakers were cribbing off of what we were saying and reporting it and spinning it into something it wasn't. Like, the Donkey Kong game is imminent. It's coming this Nintendo Direct 2021. And then it didn't happen, and everybody blamed us when it was these other leakers who were just stealing our information and trying to claim it for themselves, as if they had any fucking inside knowledge. And then we get all the fucking, like, unhinged messages in our DMs. And all I'm saying this for is we are not really, like, plugged into what's happening behind the scenes. I am just as frustrated as everyone else that Banjo-Kazooie has been allowed to languish for as long as it has. That's no way to treat a brand and a property with as persistent a fan base as it has. It's no way to treat it, but you also just can't let that negativity continue to snowball. One, it's not healthy for you. And two, you have no idea what might be happening right now somewhere within Xbox Game Studios. They've already spoken to this. They know it's been so long since the Banjo-Kazooie game, and they know that's kind of an oopsie doodles. Now, they're not going to get out and say, we're working on Banjo-Kazooie, but we're not going to give you any information now because it's not far enough along. Like you just said, They're not going to do that anymore because that creates situations like Metroid Prime 4 or Everwild.
Mm-hmm.
So just like we didn't learn about Donkey Kong Bonanza until April 2nd of this year, and now it's coming out July 17th, I don't think we're going to learn about Banjo-Kazooie until it's close to being ready to be released.
Yeah, if and when a new Banjo-Kazooie I can speak, I swear. If and when a new Banjo-Kazooie thing arrives, I fully expect the first we'll see of it will be with, like, full gameplay.
Yeah.
This is not going to be another nuts and bolts situation where they give us, like, some, like, CG trailer that does not reflect the final game in any way, shape, or form. It's going to be, like, an actual gameplay trailer that said, hey, it exists and it's dropping in a couple months. You can shut up now, sort of thing.
They know, they have to know. Because, and I know they know this because I know people at Rare do know this. There is a tightrope you have to walk for a new Banjo-Kazooie game. There's just so much psychodrama around Banjo-Kazooie, especially post Nuts and Bolts, that they've got one shot to get it right. And so there's a lot of careful considerations that have to be made. And I do understand, I see Traveler of the Stars is talking about in our live stream. I do understand, like, maybe just get out in front of it and say we're working on it and give some fans something to hope for. But then you run into situations like Everwild, and that doesn't do anybody any good.
Yeah, from my standpoint as a game developer in the professional industry who's worked at Xbox before, no, don't do that. Don't ever do that, because it's all people ever ask you about. Anything else you try to talk about, anything else you announce, they'll just be like, yeah, but where's the thing you said was coming?
Right. And I think there's also probably a benefit to working under the cover of darkness where people aren't sure this thing is actually happening, rather than have it be out in broad daylight and then you're feeling the pressure, you're feeling the crunch, you're getting influenced and bullied from social media.
They've had to, like, preemptively tell people, no, Silksong will not be in this presentation.
Yeah.
Like, don't announce stuff ahead of time. Don't do it. It's never worth it.
Rare's in a tough spot too with this because they're having to juggle effectively two fandoms. And you do have that crossover between Sea of Thieves and classic Rare fandom. That's what we call the DK Vine Nexus. But then you've got just the new fans that are brought in from Sea of Thieves that go to the Sea of Thieves conventions and what have you, who don't give a shit about Diddy Kong Racing or Banjo-Kazooie or anything else. And then you have the fans of that stuff who might not give a shit about Sea of Thieves. And you know, Rare's got to find a way to please both. I don't envy that. I do not envy what they have had to do. They've effectively been able to modernize the studio and bring in new fans, but then how do you service everybody?
I don't necessarily think they need to service everybody, but I think they maybe need to stop being a little so precious about their IP. And just
I agree.
People working on them.
And maybe they are being less precious and we just don't know about it.
That's true. That's very true. And, like, there's a precedent. Like, we had Delilah working on Battletoads. We had Iron Galaxy, and the other one I've suddenly forgotten the name of, work on Killer Instinct.
Double Helix? Was that it?
Yeah, Double Helix, yeah.
Yeah, I got it right.
Which one of those got bought by Amazon?
Oh, I should know that. Oh, it must have been the first one, right? Because Double Helix No, I don't know.
The one that got bought by Amazon is the one who are doing that new Invincible versus fighting game that was shown up today. Yeah, I was just not interested at all. Yeah, that was my reaction as well.
When we were discussing the Xbox trailer amongst all of us, we also went on a rant against nihilistic superheroes. We're all sick of it.
But then, like, they let, like, Team Dakota and Asobo do Conquer stuff, and, like, people have opinions on how that turned out, and they're wrong. But the point is they have a history of letting other studios work with some of their IP, and I think they should just, I don't know, maybe they're just looking for They're waiting for a good pitch or something. I don't know.
Traveler of the Stars says, I guess that's my thing. There's so many talented developers out there. How's Xbox Rare not found a suitable fit yet? Well, I think the problem is also they know they have to nail Banjo-Kazooie above everything else. I mean, we look at all these other revivals they have done, and the only one that's been met with any like genuine acclaim. And look, Jem, don't yell at me, because you know how much I love Big Reunion. You know how much I don't hate Young Conquer. So don't yell at me. Don't yell at me. But the only one that's been met with any genuine acclaim is Killer Instinct 2013.
Yep.
Like, I would say Battletoads 2020 missed the mark for whatever Battletoads fans wanted.
I think the timing on that one was just bad. It was a couch co-op only game that released right when the pandemic was ramping up.
Well, and also I think that was right when people were getting sick of the Rick and Morty vibes, I guess, that game had. And granted, I am too, but not being a Battletoads guy before Battletoads 2020, I was fine with it. I was like, yeah, it seems solid enough for what it is.
Yeah.
So I think Banjo-Kazooie, they know if there's any IP that would be like their Mario, it's Banjo-Kazooie, and they've already got the nuts and bolts kind of mark against them. Even though Nuts and Bolts is a great game, it just...
Yooka-Laylee has shown that you can't just make another one. It has to be something that is universally beloved. You can't get all of the original... You can't get original devs together and make what is essentially the next Banjo-Kazooie game that just hews really close to the classic design and put it out. And because people are going to be like, well, this isn't good enough.
Yeah. And also, like, do you make it more like the original Banjo-Kazooie? Do you make it more like Banjo-Tooie? Do you evolve the formula? But then if you evolve the formula too much, then the fans of either of those two games are going to be upset.
And if you evolve the formula in the wrong way, because, again, that's what Yooka-Laylee did. It's like, oh, instead of doing X, Y, and Z, let's refine that a little bit. And people didn't like it.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah. And... like, the only thing I would really want in a new Banjo-Kazooie game is don't reboot anything. Like, have it be a genuine sequel to everything. Because part of the charm of Banjo-Kazooie is how the characters in the world evolves over all of the shit they get into. So,
yeah,
you know, that would be my big thing. And then I would be trepidatious, but open-minded about generally everything else, although it probably should be a 3D platformer, collectathon type game.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe, I guess.
Yeah. But look. I just hate to see the Rare fandom be put through this. So all I want to say is it's understandable and even acceptable to be let down whenever we don't see Banjo-Kazooie or Conquer or whatever. But also don't let yourself get riled up by these people who are just trying to get those reposts, those retweets. You know, you're being played.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll come. It'll come in time.
It will. And I know it's been too long. I get it. Trust me, I get it. Anyway, I said my piece. I was feeling a little froggy about it. So I had to hop a little bit. So that's it. That's all there is to DKU. Basically, a trailer, a kick-ass new logo, and the absence of Everwild and Banjo and Kazooie. But we also learned about the Xbox Ally.
The ROG Xbox Ally.
What is ROG? What is ROG?
I don't know. But it was there on the label.
I thought it was called the ROG at first, and I was like, that's a terrible name. What are we doing?
Yeah. It was very confusing.
Okay. So for those who don't know, for those who didn't watch, and I would imagine most of you did not watch the Xbox showcase, if you're a regular Kongversation listener.
Viewer FizzTap says ROG stands for Republic of Gamers, and now I'm even more confused.
Don't like that. That's just weird. Are you being serious, FizzTap? We should know this. Why don't we know this?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, yeah.
Anyway,
I think I'd just go into a fugue state during these Xbox showcases. And it's different when you're there in person, when we were sitting in like the Microsoft Theater or whatever, and you're just being bombarded with the sound and imagery and cars being dropped from the ceiling and Keanu Reeves coming out, and you're just like, am I dead? Am I in like purgatory? Am I being judged for my sins? And it's kind of exhilarating all the same, but then when you're just watching it on your computer in your dingy home office and you're just like, I wish I could be playing my Switch 2 right now. So, yeah, the Xbox Ally, for those who don't know, is effectively the Xbox's answer to Steam Deck or the Switch.
Yeah.
It's a handheld Xbox/Windows gaming device.
It just, you know how when Netflix got really big and all of the other like content producers were like, oh man, this is great, let's do our own, and now the streaming landscape sucks because everyone has their own streaming service now and nothing's consolidated on one platform anymore. That's what this feels like. This feels like Microsoft seeing the success of the Steam Deck and being like, well, why aren't we doing that? And just be like, okay, here's your, let's scribble out Steam Deck and write Xbox Ally on there. This is an Xbox, ha ha ha. And just, you can play all your Xbox stuff on this. And it's like, well, like, anyone who's going to be excited about this already has a Steam Deck and is playing their Xbox games on it.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm glad Xbox is an ally. I'm glad they're...
Yeah, sure. I love rainbow capitalism too, but like, put out a better rainbow capitalism shirt, Sea of Thieves.
Look.
But
I love my Switch, and so far, I really love my Switch too. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
And I really want a Steam Deck, but I'm a broke-ass Donkey Kong journalist who barely got a Switch 2 with the skin of my teeth, and I still feel like I got away with something when I got it. Like, oh, I shouldn't have this. What did I do? Who did I rip off to get this?
It's just, like, this feels so console warsy, you know? It's like, here's your Steam Decks, but it's the Microsoft Xbox version of it for all of you fucking ride or die Xbox fans. And it's like, are we still doing that? It's 2025.
They still exist.
Do we still do this?
Yeah, they still exist.
Like,
look, as somebody who attended several of these events in person during the waning years of E3, that was the most shocking thing, to like actually interact and meet the ride or die Xbox fans. And then they would be befuddled that I wasn't one of those, that I was just there for Rare, which they were just like, what?
It's so weird to me. It's 2025. Like, I still see people making, like, oh, PlayStation doesn't have games jokes, and I'm like, are you serious?
I mean, like, I was shocked when I posted the thing about the Rare logo, the Rare 40th anniversary logo, just see how many people were, like, dismissive of Sea of Thieves still, and I was like, I thought, at the very least, Sea of Thieves had proven itself as, like, worthy of existing, even if you're not into it.
Right? It's been around for nearly a decade, and while it's losing a bit of steam, like, it's still going, and it's still making a lot of money for them.
And it's still got it's still got a huge fan base, so I was just shocked that that's still a thing, that people have this perception that Sea of Thieves is this failure. What?
Right? It's weird.
Anyway, yeah, well, we're going backwards in a lot of ways, but I do want to say I'm not necessarily opposed to this, because handheld gaming is probably my preferred method of gaming, especially, you know, post-marriage, when you really can't monopolize the TV. It's really just the best way to play a game, you know?
Yeah, I still take my 3DS and my brand new Panic Playdate with me to work and play them on breaks. And I'll just take the Switch and Switch 2 out of the dock and go sit on the chase or the couch or wherever and play something. Handheld is great. I love having the console option and being able to plop the Switch into a dock and just be like, okay, I'm playing on the TV now. That's great too. And while I'm not getting a Steam Deck, I can certainly see the appeal because it lets you do that with Steam, with your Steam library. So I get it. But like, I don't know. This just feels unneeded. They could have just made a deal with Steam Deck or put their cloud service on Switch or something.
Me Muppet says, I really like it. I just wish they did 32 gigabytes of RAM instead of 24. Okay.
Yeah.
The only RAM I know is the Paul and Linda McCartney album from 1971.
I don't know. I think it's going to be a small subsection of games that need 32 gig. If your game needs 32 gigabytes of RAM, something's wrong. You haven't optimized well. Like, what are you doing?
So, yeah, like, I could see myself getting this if I had a financial windfall, but I need to get Steam Deck first. This is something I can definitely hold out for. It's not a day one purchase like the Switch 2 had to be for me. So, yeah, sorry Xbox, but I'm gonna wait on the Xbox Ally. Well, that brings us to the portion where I ask, was there anything else during the 70 minutes or so that we actually watched that sparked your interest?
I liked Game Freak's announcement, which, when I saw the Game Freak logo, it was like nearly did a spit take.
Is that surprising that Game Freak is making something that's not Pokemon?
Less that they're making something that's not Pokemon, because they've done a couple of those. More that they're doing something for Microsoft, because even though they do make non-Pokemon stuff, they tend to stick to Nintendo or mobile platforms. I think this is their first time doing something on another studio's console since they did that one Pokemon thing with Sega back in the day. So that was interesting. And also just like, it looked like my sort of game. So
that was one of many trailers where in the first couple of seconds, I thought it could be Everwild.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, it's got a new, like, revamped look. And then I was like, oh, this probably isn't Everwild, is it? Yeah.
Yeah. Double Fine's Lighthouse game, Keeper, looked kind of interesting.
Yeah,
so,
Dustin says that he liked the Lighthouse with Legs game. I like how nobody remembers the name. It's just the Lighthouse with Legs game.
It was called Keeper.
From Double Fine. Now, how many people, show of hands, how many people out there thought at first that it could be a new Banjo-Kazooie game because there was a bird and there's a lighthouse?
I know for a fact that a lot of people bought into those, like, oh, Double Fine's working on a new Conquer game the other year rumors. So when it was like that sort of art style and Double Fine popped up, my first thought was like, oh, some of my friends are going to bother me so much today.
Now, again, DK Vine did not report on any of those rumors. So I just want to say, we don't fall for the bait. All right. Trust us. We're trustworthy. DKVine.com. Yeah, I like the way it looked. It was unusual for sure. But yeah, it is a bird-based buddy duo. But the problem is the other buddy is not bear. It's a big lighthouse with legs.
Yeah, it was neat. It was interesting.
Jeff and I. This is the part where Jeff was activated during the Xbox showcase. Jeff and I really liked hearing the Byrds' classic 60s anthem Turn, Turn, Turn in that one trailer. That was pretty nice. We like Granddad Rock. And
what was the trailer?
Yeah, that was one of those fantasy games. One of those. It was
okay. Whatever.
The one that's not World of Warcraft. It's the other one.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Well, yeah, because we were all humming "Turn, Turn, Turn" during it. We weren't paying attention to the trailer.
I watched that whole thing, and I can't remember any. I must have blocked generic fantasy out of my brain.
Yeah, well, look, we like when we hear songs we recognize during the Xbox showcase. It was the other year. They played Steely Dan's Do It Again during that one trailer.
I did recognize that one.
Yeah, it was that trailer with Gus Fring in it. And we were like, yeah, like, again, we don't remember the trailer. We don't remember what game it was for, but we're like, hell yeah. Steely Dan. We love Granddad Rock here at DK Vine.
Seeing Super Meat Boy 3D was kind of interesting, especially when they did the pipe fake out at the beginning.
I liked the way that Haunted Hotel game looked.
Yeah, I was more on board with it before and you're secretly a con man trying to do something shady in town. I'm like, no, just let it be revitalize the weird Haunted Hotel game. But still looks interesting.
Other than that critter game that looked like it could be AI, but we don't know if it's AI, but it just had that cadence of looking like it was just AI generated slop, even if it's not AI generated slop. We're just at that era where there's just a certain vibe and aesthetic about it that you're just like, And anyway, besides that, I liked every game in this showcase that wasn't just another imagine a dystopia kind of game.
Yeah.
And again, maybe this is just where my head's at, and my head's always been at this level.
No, I'm with you. I'm kind of tired of it.
When the world itself is feeling very much like a dystopia, I want my escapism to be something to aspire to, or at the very least, just an escape in general. And yeah, when it's just like, imagine if you lived in a world that sucked even harder. I'm just like, well, no, it's not for me. Like, let's start actually dreaming of a better future, and then maybe we can live a better present.
I liked seeing that there were more foreign games in the presentation, like that Korean one and stuff.
Sure.
But the fact that they were like generic paramilitary dystopia kind of also just made me tune them out. So,
in the live stream, David Thomas Lynch, DK Vine staffer, Esquire, wow, I had no idea you got your law degree, says it was the Elder Scrolls Online that had turn.
Right. That did have a trailer for pets? I don't know what they were showing off in that trailer.
Yeah, but it did come out like a decade ago.
Yeah, it did. One of my friends worked on it for like 6 years.
Yeah, Sea of Thieves is not the only long-running game that still gets trailers in these things. Traveler of the Stars says, Hyle, get the lead out of your pants and talk about Call of Duty.
Nah, I think that's a good place to end the episode. Bye.
I was so confused by that trailer, that One More Thing trailer, because they lingered on the faces of the people, and I'm like, am I supposed to know you?
Yeah, that was my exact reaction. I'm like, am I supposed to recognize these people? And then they did the weird disappearing into the cyber reality and the unfolding city stuff, and I'm like, is this an Arcane Studios thing? What's going on? And then they were like, Call of Duty, Black Ops 7. And to be clear, one of my college friends is a high-level designer on that series. She's been involved with every Black Ops games. So, I'm happy for you that you're still putting out games that people enjoy, but okay, not for me.
My only Call of Duty is the Donkey Kong's booty. That's all I gotta say about that. So all in all, Gem, not the worst Xbox showcase I've ever had to sit through. Something to take away from it is, goddamn, that new Rare 40th anniversary logo.
It's really pretty.
It's like a big cherry Jolly Rancher. I just want to suck on it. Well, thank you for listening to this episode of The Kongversation, Donkey Kong Universe Discussion. We'll be back with another live episode in a couple of days where, look, I feel like we focused on a lot of negativity on this episode, and we were just talking about the absence of things and how much it bothered us as fans. And it's not really the kind of negative headspace I want to be, considering, you know, we just got a new Nintendo console, a new Donkey Kong games coming out. It should be, in the terms of video game fandom, a summer of good vibes. So on the next live episode of The Kongversation, we're going to focus on something a bit more positive. We're going to talk about the Yooka Replayly demo and Platonic Oh, fuck!
This has been a File 2 production.
Que rico.